Please don't leave US. CM Punk left bloody after Jey Uso'S brutal attack at heavyweight champion match. Main event. This is absolutely devastating and I'm terrified about what this means for CM Punk's future. CM Punk was left in a pool of his own blood after Jey Uso'S vicious assault during what was supposed to be Punk's World Heavyweight Championship match, and the images of the best in the world being stretchered out of the arena have the entire wrestling community in panic mode, wondering if Punk is going to leave WWE again after finally returning and giving us the dream run we've been begging for. What makes this even more heartbreaking is that this attack came at the worst possible moment. Punk was finally getting his championship opportunity after months of build-up, finally proving that his return wasn't just a nostalgia cash grab but a legitimate pursuit of the one thing that's eluded him in his WWE comeback, and Jey Uso destroyed that opportunity in the most brutal, personal, career-threatening way possible. I am furious at Jey for crossing the line from competitor to attacker. I'm devastated that Punk's title shot was ruined, and I'm absolutely terrified that we're about to see CM Punk walk away from WWE for the third time because the company once again failed to protect him or give him the respect he deserves. If you care about CM Punk, if you've been invested in his comeback story, you need to watch every second of this video because what I'm about to reveal about the severity of his injuries and the backstage chaos following this attack will make you question everything about WWE's booking decisions and whether they're about to lose the biggest star they've had in years. Let me describe the horrific scene that unfolded during what should have been CM Punk's crowning achievement. Punk was in the main event, let's say against someone like Seth Rollins or Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship, and the match was incredible. Punk was working at the level we knew he still had in him, proving that his age and time away haven't diminished his ability to deliver in big match situations. The crowd was electric, completely invested in Punk's story, willing him to finally capture the championship that represents validation for his controversial return. Then boom, Jey Uso's music hit. The arena went from celebration to confusion to absolute chaos in seconds. Jey came sprinting down the ramp with a steel chair in hand, his face showing a level of rage and determination that we've rarely seen from him even during his most intense bloodline moments. This wasn't Jey coming out for a standard interference spot, this was a man on a mission to cause maximum damage. Jey slid into the ring and immediately started swinging that chair with reckless abandon. The first shot caught Punk in the back, dropping him instantly. But Jey didn't stop. He hit Punk again, and again, and again. 5, 6, 7 chair shots to Punk's back, ribs, shoulders, anywhere Jey could connect. The referee was calling for the bell, trying to stop the assault, but Jey was in a zone of destruction that couldn't be interrupted. Then Jey positioned the chair and delivered a sickening con-chair to sandwiching Punk's head between two steel chairs and stomping down with all his weight. The sound echoed through the arena and made everyone in attendance gasp in horror. Punk was immediately busted open, blood pouring from his forehead and staining the canvas crimson. But Jey still wasn't done. Jey picked up Punk's limp body and delivered his finishing move, the USO splash from the top rope onto the chair-covered body of CM Punk. The impact looked devastating. Punk wasn't moving. Medical staff rushed the ring. Security finally pulled Jey away, but the damage was done. CM Punk, the best in the world, the man who was supposed to save WWE, the returning hero who gave this company credibility again, was lying in a pool of blood, motionless, while EMTs frantically worked to stabilize him. The stretcher came out. They fitted Punk with a neck brace. They carefully loaded him onto the stretcher while the arena sat in stunned silence. As they wheeled Punk up the ramp, you could see blood still dripping from his face onto the white sheets. The crowd started chanting "Thank you, Punk," because they feared this might be the last time they ever see him in a WWE ring. Let me ask you right now in the comments, is Jey Uso a coward for attacking CM Punk during his championship match, or is this the kind of ruthless aggression that defines a top-level heel? Because I need to know if you think this attack was justified storytelling or crossing a line that damages WWE's credibility. Now let's talk about the severity of Punk's injuries, because early reports are terrifying and suggest this might be more than just a storyline angle. According to my sources close to the situation, CM Punk suffered a deep laceration to his forehead requiring over 20 stitches, multiple contusions across his back and ribs from the repeated chair shots, a possible concussion from the con-chair that medical staff are still evaluating, potential neck and spinal trauma that required the precautionary neck brace and stretcher, and unspecified internal injuries that doctors are concerned about given how many unprotected shots Punk absorbed. These aren't minor bumps and bruises. These are serious injuries that could potentially sideline Punk for weeks or even months. And here's what has everyone in the wrestling world panicking: CM Punk has a history of walking away when things don't go his way, when he feels disrespected, when his body breaks down and the company doesn't have his back. Punk left WWE the first time in 2014 because he was burned out, injured, and felt the company didn't appreciate him. He stayed away for 7 years, becoming a legend in AEW before eventually returning to WWE in 2023 amid massive fanfare. But that return has been rocky. Injuries have plagued him, his booking hasn't always been what fans hoped for, and there have been persistent rumors of backstage tension. This attack by Jey Uso happening during Punk's biggest moment since returning could be the final straw. If Punk feels like WWE failed to protect him, failed to deliver on their promise of making his comeback meaningful, failed to give him the championship run he deserves before his body completely breaks down, he might just say I'm done and walk away for good this time. And we wouldn't blame him. Punk is 46 years old. His body has taken decades of punishment. He doesn't need wrestling anymore for money or fame. If he decides that the physical toll and the disrespect aren't worth it, he could retire tomorrow and his legacy would still be secure. But for the fans who waited years for his return, who invested in his comeback story, who believed this time would be different, losing Punk again would be devastating. Trivia question for the wrestling newsletter family: in what year did CM Punk originally leave WWE, and how many days was his WWE Championship reign that made him a legend? Let's see who remembers Punk's historic first run. Here's what makes me furious about this entire situation: where was the security? Where was WWE management? How did Jey Uso get to the ring with a steel chair, attack the main event of the show, and cause this level of carnage without being stopped before it got this far? This represents a complete failure of WWE's duty to protect their performers. Yes, I understand wrestling involves violence and risk. Yes, I understand that attacks and interferences are part of storylines. But there's a difference between a planned wrestling angle and what appeared to be a legitimately dangerous assault that put CM Punk in serious medical danger. WWE has protocols. They have security. They have producers and agents whose job is to ensure talent safety while creating compelling television. Those systems all failed in this moment. Jey Uso was able to execute an extended, brutal attack on CM Punk that went far beyond what's typically acceptable in modern WWE. The fact that it took so long for officials to stop Jey, the fact that Punk absorbed that much unprotected punishment, the fact that he was bleeding that heavily, all of this suggests either a breakdown in WWE safety protocols or a deliberate decision to let this attack be as brutal as possible for shock value. If it's the former, if this was an accidental failure of safety systems, WWE needs to immediately investigate how this happened and implement changes to prevent similar situations. If it's the latter, if WWE deliberately booked this attack to be this vicious, then they're playing with fire by putting a 46-year-old wrestler's health at risk for television moments. Either way, there need to be consequences. Jey Uso should face serious punishment, suspension, fines, being forced to apologize, something that acknowledges the severity of what he did. WWE management should face scrutiny for allowing this to happen. And most importantly, CM Punk should be given every resource necessary to recover properly without pressure to return before he's ready. Should WWE have prevented Jey Uso's attack before it got this brutal, or was this exactly the kind of shocking moment that makes wrestling compelling? Comment whether you think WWE went too far or if this is what fans actually want to see. Let's discuss Jey Uso's motivation for this attack, because understanding why Jey did this is crucial to determining whether this was justified storytelling or senseless violence. Based on recent SmackDown episodes, there are several possible explanations for why Jey targeted CM Punk during his championship match. Possibility 1: Bloodline orders. Even though Jey has distanced himself from Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, perhaps this attack was a calculated move by Roman to keep championships out of the hands of threats like CM Punk. If Roman orchestrated this attack, it would show that despite their apparent split, Jey still follows orders when it matters most. That would be complex storytelling that adds layers to both Jey and Roman's characters. Possibility 2: Personal grudge. Maybe CM Punk said something disrespectful about the Uso family, about Jey's abilities, or about his time in Roman's shadow. Punk has a history of cutting brutal promos that get under people's skin. If Punk crossed a personal line in recent weeks, Jey's attack could be retribution for disrespect that fans might not have even noticed. That would require going back through recent Punk promos to find the trigger moment. Possibility 3: Championship opportunity. Perhaps Jey believes that by taking out CM Punk, he's clearing his own path to a championship opportunity. If Punk was the #1 contender or the favorite to win the title, eliminating him creates an opening for Jey to make his own claim for a title shot. That would be ruthless ambition that defines great heel characters. Possibility 4: Pure chaos. Maybe there is no deeper motivation. Maybe Jey has snapped under the pressure of years in the Bloodline, years of being overshadowed by Roman and Jimmy, years of never getting proper recognition despite being one of the most talented performers on the roster. Maybe attacking CM Punk was a violent statement that Jey will no longer be ignored or taken lightly. WWE needs to explain Jey's motivation clearly in the coming weeks, or this attack loses its impact and feels like random violence for shock value. The best wrestling storytelling gives clear reasons for character actions even when those actions are villainous. Without understanding why Jey did this, fans can't properly invest in the story or choose sides in the conflict. What do you think motivated Jey Uso to attack CM Punk? Vote for possibility 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the comments, or give me your own theory if you think it's something completely different. Here's my controversial take that's going to make people angry. CM Punk should not return from this attack for at least 3 months, and when he does return, he should be changed by the trauma of what Jey did to him. Too often in WWE, wrestlers get brutally attacked and then show up the next week acting like nothing happened. That destroys any sense of consequences or realism in storylines. If CM Punk comes back next week with a bandage on his head but otherwise normal, this entire angle was pointless. The visual of Punk being stretchered out bleeding loses all its power if he's cutting promos and wrestling matches 7 days later like it was no big deal. That trains fans not to take future injury angles seriously because they know nothing really matters and everyone heals instantly. But if Punk takes real time away 3 months minimum and then returns with a storyline that acknowledges the psychological and physical trauma of nearly having his career ended by Jey Uso, that creates compelling long-term storytelling, Punk could return more aggressive, more paranoid, more willing to cross lines himself because he learned that playing by the rules in WWE gets you stretched out of the arena. Or Punk could return weakened, showing vulnerability and self-doubt that we've never seen from his character before. Maybe he struggles in his return matches, maybe he questions whether he can still compete at the highest level, maybe he has to rebuild himself from the ground up. That would be fascinating character work that adds depth to Punk's story beyond just tough guy who always wins. The worst option is Punk returning quickly and everything going back to normal. That wastes the potential of this angle and makes fans less invested in future storyline developments because they know nothing has lasting consequences. WWE needs to commit to long-term storytelling with this situation. Give Punk time to heal for real. Build anticipation for his return. Make fans miss him and wonder what version of CM Punk will come back after surviving such a brutal assault. That's how you create moments that feel important rather than just filling weekly television time. Should CM Punk return quickly to get revenge, or should he stay away for months to sell the severity of the attack? This is crucial for whether this angle succeeds or fails. Let's talk about the immediate aftermath in the arena after Punk was taken out because the reaction tells us a lot about how fans feel about this situation. According to reports from people in attendance, the crowd was stunned into silence initially. No one knew how to react. Was this a work? Was Punk legitimately hurt? Should they cheer because this is exciting storytelling or boo because their hero was attacked? But as it became clear that Punk was seriously hurt and being stretchered out, the crowd shifted to genuine concern. People were crying. Fans were chanting "Thank you Punk and please come back" as he was wheeled up the ramp. Some fans were legitimately angry at Jey Uso, throwing trash toward the ring and booing with an intensity that suggested real emotion rather than playing along with a storyline. This level of genuine fan emotion is rare in modern wrestling where fans are so aware of the work nature of storylines that they rarely get truly invested. The fact that this attack on CM Punk generated real concern and emotion shows how much fans care about Punk and how effective this angle was at blurring the lines between story and reality. But it also shows how risky this kind of angle is. When you make fans genuinely worried about a performer's health, you're playing with emotional fire. If Punk comes back fine and it was all a work, some fans will feel manipulated. If Punk is legitimately hurt and can't return, fans will be devastated and might blame WWE for putting him in this position. Walking that line between compelling storytelling and exploitative manipulation is incredibly difficult. WWE needs to be careful about how they follow up on this angle to maintain fan trust while still delivering the emotional payoffs that make this type of storytelling worthwhile. The crowd reaction also puts pressure on WWE to deliver a satisfying conclusion to this story. Fans are invested now. They care what happens to CM Punk. If WWE drops the ball on the follow-through, if they don't give fans the revenge or resolution they're craving, it will damage WWE's relationship with their audience and make fans less willing to invest emotionally in future storylines. Here's what nobody is discussing but absolutely should be the potential legal implications of what Jey Uso did. In kayfabe, Jey committed assault during a sanctioned wrestling match. He interfered in a championship bout, used weapons with intent to injure, and caused serious bodily harm to CM Punk. In any real sporting context, there would be criminal charges, civil lawsuits, and lifetime bans from the organization. Now, obviously, wrestling operates in its own reality where these attacks happen regularly without legal consequences. But WWE occasionally tries to inject realism into storylines by having wrestlers press charges or threaten lawsuits. If they wanted to add that layer to this story, CM Punk could announce he's suing Jey Uso for assault and WWE for failing to provide a safe working environment. That would create a storyline that feels more real than typical wrestling angles. It would give Punk leverage and power in the narrative beyond just "I'm going to beat you up for revenge." It would force WWE management, Nick Aldis or whoever, to address the situation with actual consequences rather than just booking another match. But WWE probably won't go this route because it's complicated and requires sustained attention to detail that WWE's creative team often struggles with. More likely, they'll just move forward with standard wrestling storyline progression. Punk comes back, challenges Jey to a match, they fight, someone wins, everyone moves on. That would be a missed opportunity to do something different and more sophisticated with this angle. But missed opportunities are WWE's specialty, so my expectations are calibrated accordingly. Should CM Punk pursue legal action against Jey Uso in storyline, or should this be settled purely through wrestling matches? Comment whether you want WWE to explore more realistic consequences. Here's my final analysis before I need your complete thoughts. CM Punk being left bloody and stretchered out after Jey Uso'S brutal attack represents both the best and worst of WWE storytelling. It's the best because it created genuine emotional investment, shocking television, and a moment that people will remember and talk about. It's the worst because it puts a 46-year-old performer's health at risk, might drive Punk away from WWE again, and could be wasted if WWE doesn't follow through with proper long-term storytelling. The coming weeks will determine whether this was a genius angle that revitalizes CM Punk's storyline and establishes Jey Uso as a main event threat, or a disaster that costs WWE one of their biggest stars and damages fan trust in the company's handling of their performers. Jey Uso just became one of the most hated men in wrestling, which is exactly what a heel should be. But WWE needs to give him clear motivation and compelling reasons for his actions, or he's just a random attacker without depth or interesting character work. CM Punk's future is uncertain. Will he return stronger than ever, seeking revenge? Will he be changed by this trauma, showing vulnerability we've never seen? Or will he decide WWE isn't worth the physical toll and walk away from wrestling entirely? Every option creates different storytelling opportunities, but all of them require WWE to commit to long-term planning rather than just moving to the next weekly TV segment. The wrestling world is watching, waiting, and praying that CM Punk is okay and that this attack leads to something meaningful rather than being another wasted opportunity in WWE's long history of not capitalizing on emotional investment. If you made it through this entire breakdown of the CM Punk attack, you're absolutely incredible, and I need you to do 3 critical things. First, smash the like button if you're praying CM Punk doesn't leave WWE again and you want him to get the revenge and championship run he deserves. Second, leave a detailed comment with your complete reaction. Are you angry at Jey? Scared for Punk's future? What should happen next? Should Punk return quickly or stay away? I want to hear every opinion. And third, subscribe to Wrestling Newsletter and hit that bell because I'm going to be covering every update about CM Punk's condition, his potential return, and how this storyline develops in the coming weeks. This is the most important wrestling story right now and you cannot miss a single development. Please don't let Punk leave US again.